Lashana Tova, and welcome to our morning Rosh Hashanah service. My name is Dan Jones, and yes, I'm still here, and still humbly serving as the president of our congregation. And friends, if you remember this from the last couple years, in the time-honored tradition of synagogue presidential remarks, you now have about 10 minutes to take a bathroom break, but you'll want to be back because Avinu Malkeinu is after me, and you know, Rosh Hashanah, Avinu Malkeinu, actually it's the shofar that's after me. The shofar is after me, and you don't want to miss out on that. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani Yisrael. Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who has made me a Jew. You've probably heard that one before, as it's one of the prayers that's typically recited at Shabbat morning services. It's a prayer that at its simplest interpretation is the reader thanking God for being Jewish. As I read this prayer a few weeks ago and was thinking about what I might say today, it made me try to think about myself as a Jew in the context of all other Jews in the world, past, present, and into the future. It was a really big thought and much too complicated for my simple brain to wrap itself around. So I tried to distill it down. What do the Jews of the past, the Jews of today, and hopefully the Jews of the future have in common? Setting the stereotypes and low-hanging fruit like angst, a strange compulsion to eat smoked or pickled fish, and a love of complaining aside, the one that stuck out and resonated with me was optimism. Perhaps that's not the first attribute that would come to your mind for the Jewish people, but hear me out. So optimism. For the Jew, I think optimism is both a survival and a defense mechanism. Without it, how could a people who have been through so much keep going? Now, me personally, I didn't start out as an optimist. I probably started life pretty neutral in the glass half full, half empty outlook. In my teens and 20s, I adopted an air of cynicism and pessimism, probably for no better reason than I hoped it might make me look a little bit cooler. And I wasn't that cool to begin with, so anything I could do to move the needle was attempted. As I've gotten older and seen, experienced, and learned more about myself, my people, and my possible place in the universe, I've come to see the importance of optimism. I was in Spain this summer. While there, we took a tour of Jewish Barcelona. There isn't much left of Jewish Barcelona. And what there is mostly buried under the Gothic sections, with the Gothic period defined as roughly the 12th to the 16th century, and our history being under that. Well, that was a long time ago. We learned that while most of us associate 1492 with the Jews being expelled from Spain, thanks to Ferdinand and Isabella, the Jews of Barcelona had in fact fled 100 years prior to that due to overwhelming danger and persecution. All told, an estimated 250,000 to 350,000 Jews either left all of Spain or converted to avoid exile or death. And yet, Jews have returned to Spain. The current estimated affiliated Jewish population there is around 14,000, though our Jewish tour guide whispered to us that that number was inflated a bit to sound more encouraging to other Jews who might want to return to Spain. Now, I admire that optimism, and it stuck with me. How can a people who make up 0.2% of the population of the world continue to play such a vital role in the evolution and survival of humanity? Because we believe that we should and need to continue to try and make a difference. We do that despite those that dislike us, fear us, or in the worst cases want to destroy us. During Passover, we read from the Haggadah, "For not only one enemy has risen up against us to destroy us." I feel like that's a vast understatement. And yet, we continue to pursue our Jewish values and ideology. As a people, we seem to relish the idea of punching above our weight class. It's like so many of us live by the words of one of our most famous Jews, Han Solo, "Never tell me the odds." You can look it up. Harrison Ford's maternal grandparents were Jews from Minsk. to do that in the face of such historical adversity, boy, that makes Jews the biggest cockeyed optimists in the history of optimism. Rosh Hashanah is an optimistic holiday. We look forward into the new year and wish each other happiness and good health. And then we go through the days of awe and wind up in Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. Not so optimistic. And yet, as we travel through Kol Nidrei to Nila and our conclusion of the High Holy Days, the liturgy, the music, the energy takes a turn and becomes optimistic. The ark is open, signifying that the gates of heaven are wide open to our hopes and prayers. We praise God 7 times and blow the shofar, and we proclaim, next year may we be in Jerusalem. My friends, that doesn't sound like atonement. That sounds like a rallying cry. Even on the Day of Atonement, we can't resist ending on a note of extreme optimism. It's just what we do. After multi-millennia of persecution, what do so many of us still wear around our neck? Chai, the Hebrew word for life. Despite it all, we are constantly reminding ourselves and the world that we continue to choose life over death, good over evil, and optimism over pessimism. In the past few weeks, I've had at least 3 occasions that remind me why I should remain an optimistic Jew. I sat in a Shabbat morning minyan service with close to 100 participants. Our minyan at Beth Israel is community-run and led and has been going on for over 30 years. And that morning, one of its frequent flyers was celebrating the 50th anniversary of her bat mitzvah. I attended a bake sale organized and executed by children from Beth Israel. This was their idea, their plan, and their execution to raise money to support the Safe Parking Program of Jewish Family Service of San Diego. The Safe Parking Program provides safety, security, and support for the unsheltered San Diegans living out of their cars. These kids did an amazing job and were as passionate in explaining their cause to me as they were in selling me on buying way more baked goods than I intended to. Last Sunday, as I dropped my son off for his first day of volunteering as a Madrachim, I got to witness and be a part of the first day of Sunday school this year on our Beth Israel campus. To literally see the future of Beth Israel standing in a circle, smiling, well, most of them were smiling, some of them were teary kindergartners, and singing together, well, even my 20-year-old cynical self wouldn't have been able to suppress a smile. As some of you might have heard, yesterday was my birthday. I turned 50, much to my surprise. Not surprised that I reached that age, but just surprised because when I was younger, I thought 50 was really old, and I don't think of myself that way. I'm faced with the reality of aging and what comes with it. Our bodies aren't made to last forever, and to get the most out of them, we have to take care of them. We have to think about what we're doing with them. We have to think about our future and how we maintain our body to be able to make it to and through the future. The Beth Israel campus is the body of our congregation, and it's also aging, and it also needs attention. The Jewish optimists, some of who are in this room with us today, that came before us, created this amazing space for us where minions can meet. Our young people can learn important Jewish principles like Tikkun Olam, and our children can begin to form their Jewish identities. But our campus is aging and needs our help, and we are going to create an opportunity to give it the help it needs. Not only to maintain our Jewish home, and Beth Israel's place is one of the leading centers of Jewish life in San Diego, but the Jewish home of the future members of Beth Israel. The board of directors of Beth Israel have unanimously voted to enter into a capital campaign to raise funds specifically for the refreshing and rejuvenation of our campus, which is now 23 years old. And with a campus as busy as ours, that's like 50 years old. Think of it like dog years. Our campaign, Building for the Future, is off to a great start, with us having already raised 25% of our goal. This campaign is not intended at all to be a financial burden on the temple. Our goal is to raise all necessary funds to achieve the successful outcomes of our campaign. including establishing a building endowment and the construction of a mikveh on our campus. The mikveh will be housed in a new, separate, beautifully designed building adjacent to the Foster Family Chapel. A mikveh is a pool of water used for the purpose of ritual immersion in Judaism. An inclusion of a mikveh at Beth Israel is not only important for Beth Israel, but perhaps for the entire San Diego Jewish community. Much more information on the mikveh and the overall campaign will be coming your way in the months to come. Please mark your calendars for a congregational meeting to be held on November 8th to learn much more. We are very lucky. Despite what we hear and see from so many sources that swirl around us, we live in a time of advancement and enlightenment. Tragedy will always continue to ebb and flow around us, but put our reality against the reality of the Jews of Barcelona in 1392, it's all about context and perspective. We are very lucky. We live in a place that allows us to practice our faith to some of the fullest extent in recorded history. We are very lucky because we have the freedom to not only practice our Judaism, but the freedom to practice it in the way that each of us personally want to practice it. But this time and place and freedom, we didn't come by these things because of luck or chance. We got there because of the optimism of those who came before us. I'll end with a quote from Theodore Seuss Geisel, a.k.a. Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss was a Lutheran, but he was a champion of the rights of American Jews. His character, the Lorax, said, "Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing's going to get better. It's just simply not." Simply put, we have to have the desire to make a difference. I ask you to join me in optimism for the future of Beth Israel. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani Yisrael. Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who has made me a Jew. Thank you for listening.